Okay, and we will start the seminar titled Social Innovations and the Non-Profit Sector in Poland and Russia. And just few words as a background of the seminar. It was a nice story from probably my side. I approached to Slavomir and Katarzyna because I met Slavomir at Glasgow at the Social Innovation Conference. To my knowledge, you were not able to join the conference, although your name was in the title of the presentation. And we were thinking about discussing something together on social innovations and maybe having some meetings and some probably projects to discuss. But unfortunately, to the coronavirus situation, I was not able to join you personally, but thanks for your goodwill. And now we are here with this seminar. Yeah, I hope it will be interesting. Yeah, you know, to have some highlights of the situation with social innovations in both countries. Right. Then now, Katarzyna, this is a word to you. Please follow up.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Katarzyna Zajda. I'm from the University of Hud, and together with Irina, I've got this huge pleasure to organize this very small seminar in order to exchange our knowledge related to social innovations and the condition of civil society in Poland and in Russia. And in a minute, we will have 4 presentations, 3 from our Polish side, let's say, starting from Agnieszka Murawska, my colleague from the Department of Rural and Urban Sociology. And she will give us an introduction to the condition of Polish civil society, especially the condition of non-governmental organizations. And in a minute, I will ask you, Agnieszka, to introduce yourself once again. Then I will start my presentation about some of the results conducted in Polish rural areas related to social innovations, and the third presentation will be given by Sylwia Michalska, my friend from Polish Academy of Sciences, and she will also present some of her results conducted, some results of her project conducted also in Polish rural areas. And I would like to also introduce my faculty. I've got a very short presentation, so give me a second. Yeah. I've got it. Yeah. So some facts about the University of Hud. It was founded in 1945. Of course, it's located in central part of Poland. Comprised 12 faculties. We got more than 2,000 researchers and more than 28,000 of students. Plenty of international grants and research projects, including Horizon 2020. And the name of my faculty is Faculty of Economics and Sociology. It was founded in 1960. It's the biggest of the 12 faculties of the University of Hud. We've got more than 400 researchers and more than 5,000 students, and a very good A category according to the Ministry of Science and Higher Educational Standards. We offer for students and for students mainly bachelor studies in economics and sociology and master studies, and for researchers we've got the expert fellowship program. So this is it. I hope that everything is okay, and Agnieszka, I think right now the floor is yours.
Oh, may I interrupt you? And
yeah,
thank you for the presentation. It was really short slides, as you promised.
Yeah.
A rare situation, what happens. But I would like to give a few minutes to Yulia, just to make a brief overview of our center for you, just, you know, to finalize with these organizational practical matters in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Irina. Yeah, we work together with Irina and other colleagues in big research institute, Institute of Applied Political Studies, and this institute is inside of the university. There are other branches of our institute that's two mostly political studies research, and we are focused on non-profit sector studies. You probably know Irina's research interest, about social innovations, about philanthropy. And as for me, I'm more interested in state regulation and state civil society relations and Russian statistics on non-profit sector and regional differences inside of it. You can imagine how much we have inside Russia. We do not only focus on academical research, we make quite a lot of applied research for non-profit organizations, and also we teach them how to make and how to conduct applied research, how to design their research, what kind of methods they can use, and etc. Teaching and other normal university life, that we have inside our research center. And at the moment, maybe it's that's quite a big project that we have. We launched longitudinal study of Russian nonprofit organizations. It's just on the beginning, but we have a lot of how to say,
hoping.
Hoping. Right. Thank you. For these results, and we do it together with nonprofits. So it's quite collaborative project. That's not only academical one, but in a collaboration with real experts, from the sector.
Right. We hope for this non-profit panel to become our sort of signature project to picture the Russian non-profit sector. But anyway, thank you for the presentation and introduction. And now Agnieszka, with your presentation, please. The floor is yours. This is the way.
Okay. Thank you. I'm very pleasant that I can participate in this small scientific seminary of ours, and that we can know each other better. I only few words. I'm specialized in civil society, and my research interests focus on civil activity on the three sections: social participation, common good, animation of local communities. And the last result of my research was included in the book Civil Activities on Lodz and Ivanovo citizens. So I'm very happy that we can collaborate in the Russian side again. Okay, so I will show you my presentation. And we can start. One moment, because I want to show you.
Well, I am available for timing.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have 20 minutes.
Okay, but I want to show you
full screen.
Yes, but I can. Or maybe. Yes. Okay, it happens. So my short presentation will be focused on civil society and non-government organization. It will be three parts. First, I tell you something about statistic data. The second will be about the civil society organization Stability Index. And the second, then the last would be about the situation of organization in pandemic. So the short introduce is what is the civil society. For my research, it is very important to include that it will be individual activity, not formal, but everything what people do for society, for neighborhood, for everyone. And this is a very important aspect. And the second is the formal organization. So it will be everything what we will talk today, but we have to remember that the civil society is something more. Yes, and this is This is a result for observation that civil society help to develop democratic state to the economic and to everything, every sphere in the state. It is important to know that civil society aim is, of course, the common good, and this is so important that we should remember. Of course, we can.
My apologies, Agnieszka.
Yes.
We all see only the first slide of your presentation. Is it a correct way?
Oh no, because I'm in the third page, but I don't know why. Okay.
Agnieszka, one time I had the same problem during my lecture for students. Yeah, maybe close your full screen and then
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know what's the reason of that.
Okay, I try again.
Well, now it is the second.
What do you see? What do you see?
Slide.
Okay, but I can.
But maybe you will leave it like this to avoid.
I try again, okay? Okay, so what you see now?
Second slide.
Okay. And now? Yes?
Now. Yeah.
Yes? It's good? Okay, so it won't be full screen, but only this. I'm sorry. Okay, so I will tell you something about civil society. And now we talk about the role and function about the non-government organization. The more important is that we have function relating to meeting, the needs, interests, and aspiration of association. But for civil society, the most important is the second function. The function relating to the realization of community needs. And it is the integration, care and education function, standardization function, pressure group function, and of course, the most important, socialization function on the state. I suppose we don't have to tell about definition on non-government organization, but one aspect is very important when we think it could be freedom to do this, and it have to be independence of government. Okay, the genesis of NGOs have two options. First of all, the researchers tell us only when the state is very good, when the democratic is in the high level, we can cooperate, the freedom to cooperate and create a lot of non-government organizations. But the second option is that this is not efficient state. So the state can help in any aspect, and that's why we have to do something. That's why we have to create and cooperate in non-government organization. So what is the situation in Poland? The first question is, how many organizations we have? And this is difficult because a lot of organizations are registered, and this is the white color of number. But of course, a lot of don't exist, but they don't have the right to tell us about this. So we are only estimate that we have about 85,000 of this organization in our country. Of course, the most of them, they are associations, and the second part, they are foundation. When we look for the map, we can see that the most level of organization is located in our central of Poland, and they are in our capital in Warsaw. the most organizational and local in big city, and about the rural area, we will know better about the Kasia Zajda today speaker. What is the most main field of activity? There are sport, tourism, recreation, hobbies. So everything what is important for children, for our health. The second part is education. Then cultural, local development, social service, and social welfare. We should remember that the active Poles are only 23% in research representative in Poland. They are active in non-government organization, and it is the high level because 10 years ago it was only 28%. So it is better because we know better what the organization do for us. How look the average organization? They have 30 members, but we should remember that only 10 are active. It is very important because we can know that they don't do anything in this organization. We have different situation about how many the organization are work, because 21% work more than 50 years. So they have experience, they know how to find the fund, and it is very good for our civil society. Unfortunately, or maybe not, is that 20% work only 5 years. So our situation is different. We have the same the same number of experience and not experienced organization. I suppose this is the most important fact. A lot of organization, 63% of organization use volunteers. So this is important because the staff on employment contract is only 90%. So when the volunteers don't want to help us, we can do anything. This is the fact that the average salary in this third section is low. And that's why some people say that because women want to work not only for money, but of course to the idea, to the result, and are more empathic. That's why in third section work a lot of women. Now we can tell about compare the country. This is the 24th edition in this research, the Civil Society Organization Sustainability Index, and in this research we can compare 7 different aspects about legal organization, the image of organization on the 7-point scale. And on the map, we can see that our situation in Poland isn't bad, but probably it could be, we know better when we look in the historical date. I write you the number of Russia. It is 4,7. It isn't good result, but I suppose we can hear more about Irina today about this situation. In Poland, from year to year, our situation is worse, and it is something what we have to know. And what happened? So first of all, when we look about sensibility enhancement and sensibility involving, we see that our index is almost 3. So we have to be careful about this statement. The best situation is a financial viability, 3,3, the legal environment, the advocacy, and the better, I suppose, result is in the sector infrastructure service provision. What happened? About the legal environment, the most important fact is that there is a serious risk of centralized government control over NGOs. We see that from year to year, the government wants to share the funds, want to create the section which would be very nice for them. We can say something like that. And about the organization capacity, the organization don't have the money. They don't want to think about the plans, the strategic plans, because the situation changed over time. It is a very bad fact that 25% of NGOs reported a decrease in number of volunteers which are engaged in this action. They have to reduce staff. We know that the staff is small, but they have to reduce. So it is a bad trend. About financial viability, we have to know that 54% of the budget of all organizations is public money. And it is very important because if our state tells something that they don't share the money, the situation will be very bad for the organization. 50% comes from economic activity, and I suppose it will be grow and grow in the future. And only 40% from individual and institutional philanthropy. Of course, the situation is changing, and I suppose the pandemic changed this, that the organization have to find the sponsor, the fund in internet, in the social media, of course. About the advocacy, we can tell that not many documents are consulted, and only a few of them, the result is important for the state, for the government. So it is a bad trend. We should remember about the women's strike, when a lot of people go to the street, and the voice of the organization of the people could be heard. And the second example is our Omdusman campaign, when the organization tried to endorse his own candidate for ombudsman. Unfortunately, he was not elected. Service provision isn't very bad in this index, of course, but we should remember that some aspect is a bad situation. It is the benefits about the social right, about the right, woman's right for abortion, for the LGBT. So this is the aspect when sometimes we can say that we have good and bad organization. This organization who can have support of state, and a lot of which are not prepared for them.
Agnieszka, my apologies. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. So I try again. The sector infrastructure is very good, and I suppose the situation will be better and better for the year. And the public image is important to know that unfortunately the public TV isn't very good PR for the media, for the organization, and the organization have to do something more. That's why it was the campaign social organization. It works. What we do in the pandemic, it was a lot of difficulties, and of course the foundation will be the worst issue. Only 31% organization suspend all the current activities, so it is a lot of number, and 29% has started new activities for online information, for shopping, for saving a mask. So it is good trend. Sport and cultural organization have to be frozen, unfortunately. And 20 organizations can use technologies in their work because they don't have digital skill, the benefits don't use internet because they are, for example, the seniors. Yeah, it's very in this very difficult situation. It was the example what the organization can do. Yeah, tutorial, webinar in the pandemic. So this is good. And for the conclusion, the sector's strength is great flexibility. It is low professionalization remains a major problem. There is a risk of increasing inequality between organizations located in rural and urban areas. And they use the new format activities, so the internet, the social media, only episodic in most organizations. And the lack of financial stability of the organization reduces the capacity on the sector to respond to the crisis situation. And the last page is that we have two options. The pessimistic is that the organization only concentrate to survive, or maybe according to Wiknański, there is the hope that we will be cooperating together, and thus our civil society will be better. Of course, the last sentence is for us, because that's people create civil society, not only organization. It's up to us to make civil society work. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really very interesting I think for us, and it will be great if you will share the presentation to capture some numbers. Well,
of course.
Due to agenda, we have the next presentation, Katarzyna.
Yes, I'm present. Give me a second. I would like to upload this presentation. Okay. Yeah, that's right. I hope you can see the first slide. Everything is okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can start. Today I would like to focus on one research question. So in fact, what distinguishes Polish rural non-governmental organizations that implement social innovation? And I would like to give some introduction. So it's obvious that a lot of research has been carried out on the implementation of social innovations by non-governmental organizations. And this is because they got the power, potential to solve social problems and carry out non-routine, atypical activities. However, not all NGOs are willing to implement social innovations. They can achieve their goals by acting in the same way for many years. So this raises the question of what characteristics distinguish those organizations that have experience in implementing these innovations. Therefore, what characteristics can be supported to increase the capacity of non-governmental organizations to implement these innovations? And this is a question worth posing in the context of post-socialist countries such as Poland, where the NGO sector is still being formed and is still weak compared to countries with a higher level of social capital, especially in rural areas. Poland is divided into 16 voivodeships and more than 300 powiats, which consist of gminas. And we've got three kinds of gminas: urban gminas, rural urban gminas, and rural gminas. In my research, I focus on the small unit, I mean rural gminas. Rural organizations are distinguished from those that are located in cities. They operate locally, have fewer members, got small budgets, and don't run a business. And it's very important that we have to distinguish different kinds of rural non-governmental organizations. So first of all, we've got traditional organizations, like, for example, rural housewife associations. They have been functioning since the 19th century. The main area of their activity is the preservation of local culture. Some of them are also starting to act in the area of solving social problems, such as unemployment of rural women or counteracting domestic violence. And the second example of traditional organizations are volunteer fire brigades. And in addition to fire protection, they also operate like rural housewives associations in the area of cultural heritage. Then we've got new organizations, new non-governmental organizations, those that began to arise with the changes of the 80s of the 20th century, and very specific organizations such as local action groups, which have taken the legal form of associations, but are referred to as local development agencies. In Poland, the largest increase of them was after our accession to the European Union, and these organizations support an area called territorial partnership, which includes several gminas. And in each programming period, local action groups implement the objectives of the local development strategy, the strategy in which they define the priorities for the development of the territorial partnership. And also this includes solving social problems. And how about definition of social innovation? Of course, I'm aware of the fact that we've got plenty of definitions. In my research, I stated that social innovation is an unusual practice, alternative to the dominant ones in a given area. So I focused on local social innovations, the purpose of which is to introduce a change in the area of solving social problems. Referring to the theory of structuration by Anthony Giddens, I assume that social innovations appear as a result of reflexive actions of non-governmental organizations, and they seek to change routinized social practices to solve social problems. And the implementation of unusual, in a given local context, ways of solving social problems may contribute to the emergence of an alternative system of solving them. So my research question is, what are the characteristics that distinguish rural non-governmental organizations from post-socialist Poland that have experience in implementing social innovations? And of course, in the literature, we can find a number of variables that we can include in this kind of research, like, for example, cooperation with diverse actors, like citizens' engagement in social innovation process, like location of the organization and public institutions with which the non-governmental organization cooperates, like the age of the organization and human resources and economic resources. And you can see right now the list of variables included in the analysis. So I focus on NGOs cooperation with local organizations, different local organizations. So also with rural housewives associations, voluntary fire brigades, social cooperatives, because they've also got the potential to implement social innovations, and with local action groups. Then NGOs cooperation with local public institutions, then NGOs cooperation with local NGOs of a new type, cooperation with organizations located outside the gmina, cooperation with public institutions located outside the gmina, then involvement by the organization of residents experiencing problems in the process of solving them, human and financial resources of the organization, so organization budget, plus number of active members of the organization, number of volunteers, and number of employees, and finally, age of this particular organization. A survey was conducted in 2018 on a representative sample of 400 non-governmental organizations from rural gminas. And this study provided information on whether non-governmental organizations from rural gminas implemented social innovations, and if so, whether in cooperation with other social actors, I mean public institutions and different kinds of non-governmental organizations. And I asked 2 questions. So in order to obtain this information, the respondents, the leaders of these organizations, were asked the following questions. In order to solve the problems that affect the inhabitants of the gmina, did the organization carry out any activities that can be described as unusual, other than those commonly carried out by other entities located in this gmina, working to solve the same social problem? And the second question was, in carrying out these activities, did the organization cooperate formally or informally with a local organization? As I mentioned, 400 non-governmental organizations participated in this research. They operated for no more than 25 years, and among respondents were 66% of women and 33% of men. Cooperation was defined as actions, formal or informal, for the benefit of commonly defined objectives, and this cooperation could take 3 forms: Form A, B, and C. Form A, it was creation of joint teams of advisory and initiative character. So it was the situation when this particular non-governmental organization, together with other organization or together with public institution, create such a team. Form B, it was the situation where this particular organization, together with other organization or public institution, produced social service but didn't have opportunity to create this service. And Form C, it was like this particular organization, together with other organization or public institution, produce, create, co-create this particular social service. And right now you can see descriptive statistics of all variables plus alpha Kronbacher. I use also Shapiro-Wilk test, and this test showed that the distribution of the tested variables was not consistent with the normal distribution. So finally, I used the non-parametric Mann-Whitney U test. And the study presented the following hypothesis. The characteristics that distinguish NGOs that have experience in implementing social innovations from those that don't have them are the following: cooperation with different organizations and public institutions, involvement by the organization of residents experiencing problems in the process of solving them, human and financial resources of the organization, and finally age of organization. And this is the main result. So the conducted analysis showed that non-governmental organizations with experience in implementing social innovations from those that don't have it were distinguished by different forms of cooperation with public institutions, with different kinds of non-governmental organizations, and also human and financial resources were very important. So we can imagine that we can support this kind of factors, characteristics in order to increase NGOs' potential to implement social innovation. But we've got some problems. So problems with cooperation. We're a post-socialist country with low level of social capital, with low level of social trust, with low level of cooperation. So the question is, of course, what can we do with this situation? And I would like to also focus your attention on one fact, that non-governmental organizations from Polish rural gminas cooperated with other new types of NGOs very rarely. 90% of the organizations reach a low or very low level of this cooperation. After all, cooperation between new types of NGOs was still more frequent than with traditional organizations, with social cooperatives and the local action group. In this case, a low and very low level of cooperation characterized 98% of the organizations. And occasional cooperation with social cooperatives can be explained by their small number and often quite short-term presence in a given rural gmina. But how to explain this weak cooperation with traditional organizations? So they are seen as organizations that don't show readiness to join new types of NGOs initiatives. They achieve their goals by receiving funds primarily from local public institutions, and therefore they don't see the need to establish cooperation with new organizations in order, for example, jointly apply for other funds for the implementation of jointly created activities. And how about local action groups? So on the other hand, they are highly professionalized organizations. They support local NGOs in a number of ways, and they are perceived as well as public institutions as supporting organizations, transferring financial resources rather than cooperation partner. If rural non-governmental organizations decided on some form of cooperation, it was primarily with local public institutions, although still 77% of them were characterized by a low and very low level of cooperation. And cooperation networks of rural NGOs closed at the gmina level, rarely including these organizations from outside its area. So 95% of the surveyed organizations were characterized by a very low and low level of cooperation with them. And what I want to also add is that non-governmental organizations from rural gminas also rarely cooperated with public institutions located outside the same gmina. The low and very low level of this cooperation was characterized by as much as 97% of their total. And last but not least, human and financial resources of this kind of organization. So research showed that 80% of rural NGOs were characterized by a very low and low level of human and financial resources. As you can see, just over 42% of the organization used the help of volunteers. Then 40% had employees employed under an employment contract. The average number of people showing continuous activity was only 6. And this organization had budgets below 50,000 zloty, of which the largest percentage were organizations with a budget up to 5,000 zloty. It's like 1,100 euro. And finally, conclusions. So the research revealed the weakness of the rural NGO sector, which is not only the number of NGOs, but also the low ability to establish cooperation with other organizations, with public institutions, including, of course, other new types of NGOs, and the shortage of human and financial resources of the organization. We also know from this research that we can support these two factors, I mean, or these two characteristics: cooperation plus financial resources and human resources, in order to increase the NGO's potential to implement social innovation. But the question is how to do this. We know that it's very problematic, very complicated to stimulate cooperation, especially in post-socialist countries. Of course, we've got this option that we can support the level of human and financial resources. Maybe it's easier, but the question is, if we should do this, we should remember that marketization and professionalization of non-governmental organizations has advantages and disadvantages. So the question is if we should do this. And of course, this is a question for our discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Katarzyna. I really enjoyed the presentation, and I think you mentioned very important story on this cooperation and innovations. Well, okay, so the next presenter is Sylvia. If I'm right with
sure, thank you very much. I'll try to share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my slides?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
and does it change? No?
No.
Okay. It doesn't change in my, I'm sorry, I have no idea what to do. And now?
Yes.
Okay, so I go back to the first one. Thanks, I would like to thank you very much for the invitation. This is the first time when I will have opportunity to present the innovation and the studies we run since officially October 2020, but we had to suspend and have a break in our researches because of the COVID. The social innovation I would like to present, it will be very practical and very, very basic presentation. This innovation is called to give what is really needed. And this is also the extension. It is an innovative model of professional care, home care on dependent and temporarily ill people. And it is also addressed to members of the families who are carers of these people. This is the social innovation finance from the Employment and Social Innovation Program. We applied in the 2019, and to apply we had to create the partnership, and the partnership consists of 4 members. The leader is Foundation of Prophet Eliach, and this is the home hospice, the foundation who run home hospice in Podlaskie Voivodeship. The other partner is Regional Center of Social Care in Białystok, which is main city of this region. We are, as the partner, Institute of Rural and Agriculture Development, Polish Academy of Sciences, and we also have support from the organization, which is very good in supporting all NGOs in this region, and they help us to run all bureaucratic procedures. I would like to say a few words about this foundation, because this is the leader and the person, in fact, who is running and who is the heart of all this project. This foundation is working now in Podlasie region for 10 years. There is a very medial and very celebrity story of the beginning of this organization. Doctor who is running this this hospice. He had a very successful career in Warsaw, and after his personal health problems, he decided to do something what is super important, and he moved to Podlasie region, and he started to help people who has no adequate and necessary help in their problems. And they work in 5 rural communes. Kasia said already that we have different types of rural communes in Poland. So 3 of them are just rural, and 2 of them have city as a center of the commune. And this is the cities are Michałowo and Zabłudów, and the rest are typically rural communes. The activity of this foundation is very, very ambitious, because they not only help the patients, but they also educate, and they also try to stimulate social activity in the region. So they do really a lot, but this is all based on the social capital of the one person who is trying to attract other people to help him. But this is not, now we tried on the operationalization how we can multiply this innovation, and it is very difficult to multiply something that is based on individual characteristic of one person. So maybe about this later. Now I focus on presentation on the of this innovation. Maybe I go to present these 5 communes a little bit. These 5 communes were chosen to be place of implementation of the innovation, because it is the circle around 40 kilometers around the place where the foundation has offices. From the administrative point of view, it's quite complicated, because it's 5 communes, but in 2 powiaty. So we have to cooperate with many administrative institutions into regions. Now we have quite a complication, because 3 of these communes have bordered with Belarus. And as you probably see, we have very big problem, a humanitarian problem in this region. We have in Poland, in these 3 communes, partially a special state. People are not allowed to enter this place. We, as the researchers, cannot be here. But also doctors and nurses from the hospice must have special permission to visit their patients. It is quite a complication, but of course that's not the biggest problem which is present in this region now, so I will not focus on methodological problems now. The very big problem of this, and the common problem of this communes, is the population. These are usually very poor communes. They have no incomes, because there is no many businesses, or it is mostly farmers who are living here, and elderly people. We observe the vanishing of public services. There is very bad access to medical care, to the points where you can buy medicine, etc. There is a huge problem with public transport. When the school bus is not running, public bus transport practically does not exist. And the population is one of the elderly in the whole European Union. It was our aim when we prepared the application. We have already in this region problems which we will observe in the whole European Union in the perspective of 30-40 years, because the processes of aging already happened there, and we observe all the consequences of these processes. We started to make our research before the innovation was implemented. We did the interviews with people, with majors of the communes. We did interviews with people who are responsible for social services in these communes. And we didn't say that it will be about the new model of home hospice. We just asked what problems they identify as the most important in their communes. And to our surprise, they all mentioned the population, but they didn't mention the problem of care of elderly people. They focused on how to keep young people inside, and they developed several strategies to make people stay and live in the communes, younger people, and stimulate businesses, etc. But they didn't see the problem of very weak social and medical care of elderly people. But today I will try to show you different part of our already taken research, because we also try to focus on the social resources of this communes. Here I would like to show you where we are doing our study. This is the Podlasie voivodeship. And it was showed on the Agnieszka Murawska map. This is one of the regions with the weakest social capital and number of NGOs, and this is also very visible in our research. And our 5 communes are here in this green circle. This is eastern part of Eastern Voivodeship, and there is accumulation of many problems we observe in rural areas in Poland. This innovation we study is trying to be answer on several problems which we observe in rural areas in Poland. First, rural areas in Poland is 93% of the land in Poland, so this is quite a lot, and we have to treat these problems very seriously to answer the running problems. Almost 40% of population of Poland is living in rural areas. Even if statistics show that now the trend is that more people start to live in rural areas and move to rural areas than from rural areas to towns, but this is the circles around big towns. In peripheric regions, we observe very big depopulation, and especially this migration of young people to towns is very visible. As I said earlier, the consequence is shrinking of social services, problem with public transport, problem with access to important services. As our research in IRVIR showed, access to medical services is in some regions even 2.5 times worse in rural areas than in towns. And this is quite natural because you have specialists in big centers, but as we saw, in 132 rural communes in Poland, there is any one doctor. They don't even have one doctor, and they have to go look for the medical help in other places. So this is something what is very, very serious. There's also a problem of poverty in rural regions. We have we have a domination of elderly women than men, and generally women in Poland, and especially in rural regions, worked shorter. They have lower incomes, so this is also a very big problem. And not only medical care is insufficient, but there are reports which show that social services for elderly people in place of living are very insufficient in Poland. And now, what this innovation is going to do, and how they try to improve the situation of elderly and sick people in Poland. First, in Poland, to be taken to the hospice, you must have one of 7 diseases. And this disease 5 of them are very rare, and 2 of them, which is really present in the hospice care, is cancer and bed sore. This is something what is financed by National Health Program. In this foundation, in this innovation, they observed that there are people in rural areas who need home hospice care, but they are after strokes, they are after amputations, they are unable to be safe in home with normal social and health care, and this hospice take care on these people, and they normally finance it from not national health program sources. This is the foundation, so they have sources, money from collections, from public. I missed the word. I don't know what is the word for this. Public collection, for example, in the internet, or when people pay 1%, but they have independent money. They are not dependent only on national health plan, and they are able to do such a thing. And they want to, and they fight for the extension of this list of disease in general health care system in Poland. The second innovation in this big innovation is that normally in the hospice care there is a team which is consist of the doctor, nurse, and if needed, this is the law, psychologist and physiotherapist. Most of the hospice don't have psychologist and physiotherapist because it generates cost, but in this normal system in Poland, visit of doctor must be once every 2 weeks, and nurse must be at the home of patient 2 times a week. This generates costs because sometimes when the cancer is stabilized, there is no necessity to be so often for a doctor. If the medicine is well chosen, there is no necessity to be so often visits. So they implemented some new post which is called carers, and they call them new member of the family. This carer is present 2 times a week usually at the family in their home. They help them. They for example can buy medicines in the town and bring it to home. They can help cook something. They can help in the harder works, and they also let know to the doctor and nurse if their visit is necessary. If not, hospice save money on the visits of doctor and nurses, which are better paid, and they base on the visits of carers who give reports to the rest of the team. Another part of this innovation is, and this is something what we already do, is to create a network of this weak social capital and of this weak institution which are present in these rural communes to make the help more efficient. They want to join, and they want to network, for example, this housewives organization and the firemen organization to help people living in these very peripheric villages, and they want to animate and make more active people who could help to these elderly people and these sick people in rural areas. And to make this network running well, there is a new position created. It is called care coordinator. This is the new post in the home hospice. And this is the person who is trying to coordinate activity of all volunteers, of the social care workers. This is, for example, the idea of this post is there was sometimes misplanning, and when the carer from the hospice was visiting patient at home, he heard that, oh, it is the second visit today, because in the morning there was the lady from the care system. And the role of the care coordinator is to plan the help, that not to double visits, but make sure that the patient has, for example, every day somebody. It can be professional worker from the hospice, or it can be a nurse from the normal clinic, but it also can be a volunteer or someone who check if everything is okay. And this is something what is planned as free of charge. All work is financed by the other sources, and the aim is to better organize the medical and care support resources which are present in this 5 communes. And our research, I will not take a lot, I won't talk a lot about this, because we address our researcher to local community, we do research this institution which is implementing innovation. We also make analysis of the data about already available services. But what happened this summer, it was the creation of this network. And I would like to show you, and this is something what I decided that could be interesting for you, because it is the same innovation which will be implemented in 5 different communes. And in each of these communes already exists some institutions which are also helping people who are beneficiaries of this innovation. And we made this care coordinator invited people active in these communes to 5 meetings in each commune to check if they already have some sort of network of cooperation. And I would like to show you how different social reality is in each of 5 communes. And I would like to show you how disappointed were our leader organization, this home hospice, because they thought that 10 years of activity and they are really very present in life of these beneficiaries. And they do many things which are not normally the job of the home hospice. And I would like to show you how visible in the perspective of local community and local institution the hospice is. Unfortunately, the description of institution is in Polish. I'm very sorry, but I couldn't change it. This is the first commune, one of the most active. And I would like to show you who are the most important actors. It was the questionnaire. We wanted to do something what is like sociometry, but sociometry is usually for individuals, and we did it for the organization or for the institutions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You have about 5 minutes.
Okay, this is the final 5 final slides. So I hope I will manage to finish. I would like to show. We asked, how did you cooperate with this organization during last year? Do you know personally someone from this organization? There was several questions which aim was to check the connections between different institutions in the commune, if they work together or not. And to our surprise, our leader, who was very sure of their presence in this local community, is here. There is almost no institution choose them as an important actor in this local social care system. It was really disappointing for them, I must say, and they thought that they are very active actor in this area. But this commune is very untypical because, as you can see, the most important actors is town council, commune sirs, and there is also very important person who is the chief of the social care office. This is the man who is on this post for 30 years, and he knows everything. He's super big specialist. There is all possible help for people is in this commune provided. But next town, which is also the town where the hospice is, you can see how weak the net is. There was more than 20 institutions invited, only several came up for the meeting. And as you can see, foundation is cooperating with the doctor in periphery healthcare institution, but this is almost the only one who is showing any cooperation. To our surprise, it will be the digression. This is the Michałowo, which in this humanitarian crisis show up amazing activity. This is the center of help now in this Belarus border, and they do a lot of not typical things which a commune can do for migrants. But when we observed this community, we thought that social capital is super low in this commune. To our surprise, they now manifest something completely different. This is interesting case because this is the commune when the hospice is the most active. They have the most clients from this region. Again, not very much cooperation showed by the other actors, but this is the commune when the health doctors stopped work totally in a pandemic. So our hospice is a mobile clinic for people living in this area, and they have now I think they will be much more visible in this commune. And the last, no, not the last, the fourth commune is Narew. Again, here foundation is quite visible, and the last one looked like this. This is the commune near the border where there was a lot of actor presence in this meetings. And we could observe that they recognize hospice as a very important actor, and hospice also has a lot of clients in this commune. What we try to do, we try to now find the other hospice to have comparative research. This is super difficult because of the COVID. Especially in hospice, you don't want to have researchers who are coming from Warsaw, where the level of the COVID index is the higher. And we found the hospice, we negotiate with the possibility to run comparative studies here. But I'm very afraid that we will have to base on the dynamic study in the region of the implementation of the innovation. Now we work on the data we collected from the people who are working in the hospice. This is also interesting because there are 3 doctors, 7 nurses, and most of them are from big towns in the region. So and what we also observe, that our innovation is the lack of personnel with special skills, because even the carer in this innovation must have driving license and must have their own car, and they must be ready to travel a lot and must be very very active people to be able to do such a work this hospice is doing. But what we observe that to have good workers, hospice is able to pay more, and they drain other institution and they buy workers from the other institution to implement innovation. So they improve the level of the care in this region, but they cause damages in other regions because they took resources from one rural commune to the other. So we have a lot of questions which are caused by this innovation, because it is in short term, it is absolutely helping elderly people in rural areas. But this is the innovation which is also petrifying very badly organized system, and it helped our Ministry of Health not to do anything with these huge problems, as lack of the personnel, as very low remuneration for people in the sector, etc., etc. This is the beginning of our work. We have 2 years of researches before us, and I hope that next time we'll be able to discuss. I will be able to say more about all the consequences. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Sylvia. I really enjoyed the presentation, and I think it is an important question: what happens next with social innovations? I mean, after they grew up a little bit, then what's next? Okay, and next here we have my presentation. To my knowledge, it would be for another approximately 20 minutes. Yeah, right. I hope there won't be any problems with slides. Okay, so as we decided, I won't be having an overview lecture of civil society in Russia. Just will mention few highlights, and mainly we'll speak about social innovations and yeah, and some puzzling, to my knowledge, some puzzling questions and examples. Okay, so yeah, I'm Irina Kraснопольская from High School of Economics in Moscow. Well, the first question is that social innovations occur in the non-profit sector, as non-profits are one type of producers of social innovations. So to start with, we need to have a slight image of the Russian non-profit sector. And you see that it is relatively large in absolute numbers, but pretty small size per capita. The same as Agnieszka mentioned in the beginning, not all of the registered nonprofits actually operate, and this is the same problem here. But anyway, in absolute numbers, it is pretty big. Well, it is less than 1% of economically active population, but data is pretty old. Maybe we have some progress here. Where we have progress is increase in number of beneficiaries. So you see about 60,000 of beneficiaries due to Russian Statistical Agency. We observe a rise of number of employees, and the main area nonprofits focus is social area, dealing with health, social services, education, and so on. So yeah, this is extremely, someone has switched off the light. Anyway, it is extremely socially focused sector. And the logical question here, how many social innovations one would expect in such a sector? And what some illustrations how to answer this from different perspective. This is the first picture is Atlas of Social Innovations. This is the European international project based in Dortmund, to my knowledge. So they calculated about, they managed to find 35 social innovations in Russia. In Poland, you have 7. Well, this is one perspective of how many. The second perspective is a study of mine. We made a survey on the representative sample of Russian nonprofits, and we calculated that at least 16% of nonprofits implement socially innovative projects in their, they have experience of implementing this. Well, this is another perspective. The third perspective, this is an innovative map. This is a governmentally run project by Russian government, and they calculate innovations in general. They have less than 3,000 innovation cases in Russia, but they focus on Russian businesses, on socially innovative businesses. And in social service, we have one, you see, in health, about 400, and ecology, less than approximately 100 cases. So my question and my story will build around the question why such inconsistency exists, and shall we, or shall anyone bother about it, or is it or at least shall we reflect on this situation somehow, right? And obviously, my first answer, or my first suggestion, is that there is such an inconsistency because of different conceptual frameworks. I won't read everything on the slide, obviously, and you probably should not, but just to have an overview, that there are two broad, say, schools or framework of conceptualization of social innovations. One in the utilitarian, the practical solutions, and the other is transformalist. The idea that social innovation transform the current social arrangements and networks, or hierarchy. And so these are two different perspectives, and depending on which side you are, you will calculate and identify different cases of social innovations. My story here would be based on the conceptual framework to highlight, I call it I don't know, inevitable factors, not the factors, but elements, right? The elements of social innovations, and my suggestion is that to build a sort of constellation of elements for social innovations, to make a conceptual, a broad conceptual definition. So the social innovation might be called the innovation. I mean, the solution might be called an innovation if it meets the combination of the following traits. So I mean that if the solution have social purpose, if it is novel for a particular context, if it is of open nature, collaborative, and include co-creation, plus it is embedded in the specific local context, social. I mean that it is relevant and understood and wanted in the territory. So only in this case we might talk about, I don't know, ideal type of social innovations, right? So just a few seconds on these traits, and especially on the third one, on the open nature. Why it is so important? Not because it is simply good as a normative approach, because when the solution is embedded in a broad in a broad network, it means that it has a guarantee for survival, especially when, I don't know, grant funding is ended, because the collaboration provides the consolidation of resources, And it means that members, especially authorities or businesses or even local dwellers, they are interested in this solution mutually, and they will incorporate this new solution into their ongoing processes. And it means their future stability and survival of social innovation, of socially innovative solution. Another way, and I mean, in the case of this constellation, yeah, the combination, I would say that there is an ideal type of social innovations. Right. The second, this is like the illustration of what goes for social innovations in Russia. For instance, we call social innovations the same as nonprofits, as social entrepreneurs and socially responsible business, or impact social or technological startups, or even social impact investment. You see, there is a huge amount of synonyms, or it signals that the concept of social innovation and the notion of social innovation is actually very weak, and no one really have a clear image what is social innovations, and therefore what to talk about. I have a very small illustration here from the European Investment Bank. They have a tournament. So they call social innovation basically social entrepreneurs and their solutions produced from social entrepreneurs. So you see cases of conceptual broadness, they do exist everywhere. The second line, and it will be really quick, the second line is the measurement explanation why we have such inconsistency in numbers of social innovations, numbers and basically examples of social innovations. I listed here a lot of projects counting for social innovations and general innovations. And at the bottom of the slide, you can see various data sources. I don't know, Census, Civicus, well, Eurostat, whatever. So a pretty mess, and everyone can end up with the solution or with the outcome they would love to. I mean, not they personally would love to, but these mushrooming data sources and project must signal to be very reflective on what is social innovation for researchers. I won't stop here, just particularities on two methods, two approaches to measure social innovations. But so, yeah, and I will now turn to examples in Russia. So the cases on particular examples of what is called social innovations in Russia, I would like to highlight that in different solutions, the different traits of social innovations of this ideal type are actually they actually take place, right? And so this is like several cases, and to my knowledge only the last might be called the ideal or real social innovation. But essential comment here, it should not be treated as the normative definition, like the ideal social innovation, it is the only social innovation should be. But my idea was to show the variety of cases and to show the background, what lies behind them in the conceptual matter, dealing with conceptual framework. Okay, so the first case is illustration of open nature and collaborative nature with citizen and co-creation processes. So the first is project, they call it Honey with Berries. It is a very remote village a remote area about less than less than 100 people live there, and a lady from Moscow, to my knowledge, she made this chain. Elderly people living there, they collect berries. She has the equipment to produce honey, and they made some technological invention there. And so this remote area, they managed with the problem of employment, and people are now involved, and everyone is happy, and they have a big brand, and they develop further based on crowdfunding and so on. The similar story with the Belovsky gingerbread, not far away from Moscow. They reinvent the historical practice, and they build a tourist center and the local brand, employing the local population with the support of local nonprofits. The second case, and it is to my knowledge very how to say, not trendy, but important to mention, the collaboration with authorities. And I really enjoyed the Katarzyna presentation that you've mentioned, say, issues with collaboration. And this is the same as we have here. Very similar story here, but two parts. First part, that to implement to produce a social innovation in collaboration and with the support of authorities, you should actually go for technological devices and technological social innovations, because government mainly focus on technological products and services to improve, as you see on the bottom, the quality of life, safety and independence, and so on. So the government structure, somehow the variety of social innovations they would love to support, and basically they have the synonyms of technological innovations, digitalization, and social innovations, right? So this is one piece of the cake, dealing with collaboration. The second part, you can see some nice examples of these technological startups and socially innovative products. The second part of this collaborative case is that authorities mainly offer support instead of really collaboration and really mutual creation of something. And this established and a great system of financial support, financial education and public image support, it actually minimize the issue of collaboration, of cooperation. And yeah, the aspect, the problem of collaboration is not actually discussed here, or it is not seen as a problem. Right, so here you have, I just put few examples of what support initiatives we have. All these names are with links, so you might go there and see and find out what happens. So anyway, you see this huge event with president and all other participants. So like to be socially innovative is a very trendy and a very in line with the governmental course initiative. But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of initiatives are technological one, and a lot of there are basic, obviously social, like pure social, but the other parts, that this governmental support is limited to financial support and less collaboration. The last case, I mean, So in two previous cases, we see that there are several elements of the concept of social innovations, but the co-creation and collaboration is missing. And here is the example of, to my knowledge, like Full House, or what I called empowerment case of social innovation. This is Quartier Louis. It is in the middle of Russia, Penza, not Perm, but Penza, my apologies, in the western part of Russia, central part of Russia. People, these nonprofits, they are dealing with young people with disabilities, and they build several houses. You see several actual buildings where these young people live, they work, they educate. I mean, they are accompanied living. They are more built on the model of accompanied living. So, and local authorities, they heavily support in construction and in, people living there, they produce some goods. For instance, they attract local dwellers to come to them, to participate in some master classes and so on. So they actively communicate with the territory, and to my knowledge, this might be seen as an example of the case of social innovation that which meets all the elements of the concept. Right, and it at the same time, because all the participants and all the stakeholders are highly involved in these villages, in this quarter, this project seems to be pretty sustainable. I mean, it is operating for about 10 years or a little bit more. And this is an illustration of sustainability and sustainability of the social innovation solution and its future life, say after first grant funding. Okay, and it is the final slide, and to my knowledge, this is it. Well, now we have time for questions to all the participants and discussion.
Thank you so much for all presentations. That was really great. Sorry, I have to stop video because, as you know, I'm at home with my ill children, but I'm present and I've got some questions to Irina and Sylvia. Sylvia, great presentation, absolutely great project. But you know, I'm wondering about your definition of social innovation, and I'm wondering about the story of Michałowo. And this is my question, because you mentioned that there was a low level of social capital, and now because of this extremely difficult situation, it's like the opposition. And my question is, what do you think? What was the reason? This is really this is really unusual situation that we've got children in the forest and so on. Yeah. So what is the reason of this high potential of social capital? Maybe, and this is my question, I can imagine that people observe this normal situation, that normally we've got the population, we've got these old people and problems with home care, medical care, but it is, let's say, normal for these people. And right now in Michałowo, we've got something absolutely different situation, new problem, yeah? Extremely important social problem because of children, for example, because of families and so on. So what activates these people, this community to help? And what is your, answer or your observation? So give me some clue, please.
Should I answer now, or we collect question and answer later?
Maybe right now?
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah, no problem. This is something what really fascinates me, and I try to follow and observe what is happening in all these 3 communes. And I must ask, do we record to share this knowledge? Because I will be talking about some private observation which are not already confirmed.
Oh, I can pause the...
I don't know if I can. Okay, I'm being recorded right now. Okay, and maybe one question, if I can, of course, to Irina, because you mentioned about this Atlas of Social Innovation. That's great. And did you have maybe opportunity to analyze this data, taking into consideration this division between utilitarian and transformationalist social innovation? So my question is, what kind of social innovations are included in Atlas? Because you've mentioned that in Poland, we've got 7 social innovations identified in this Atlas. And my question is, why 7? Yeah. So what kind of social innovation we've got there in this Atlas?
I see. Well, I have the same question, and I asked this question at the meeting with people from this Atlas. But they have the several selection criteria. I won't be too precise to identify them right now, but they are people who have this transformative conceptual background. I mean, they were looking for some cases that transform the power hierarchy, the structures of interactions, and so on. But yeah,
okay.
I checked, I double-checked some cases of social innovations in the Atlas. They do not exist anymore. So I mean, this is the issue of any map.
Innovation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I would like to also check it because it's very, very interesting. And my second question is, maybe it's not so strongly connected with your presentation. How about some differences between urban non-governmental organization and rural in Russia? So do you have any opinions on what are the main differences? It's the same or not the same? What do you think?
I see. Well, to be honest, the language of rural non-profit practically do not exist it does not exist in Russia. We have a very highly urbanized population, and a small share of it lives in rural area. But the picture with non-profits is that they are located in municipal centers and they work in rural areas. So they're not like specific organizations dealing with rural area, and they deal mostly with social problems like, I don't know, poverty, health, and social services, and so on. So I would not identify any particular cluster of rural nonprofits.
That's amazing. From my point of view, it's really amazing. And maybe last question, if I can. I was really surprised when you mentioned about this support infrastructure in Russia for social innovations. My stereotype was that, you know, it's even impossible. And my question is something like that. I mean, it's infrastructure for all kinds of non-governmental organizations, or maybe for some of them highly professionalized. What do you think?
I see. Well, first of all, I was surprised to identify such impressive infrastructure recently, because when I started this topic in 2015, no one even heard about the word social innovation. So this is the last few years. I would say that there are no strict selection criteria for support innovative solutions, but definitely, I mean, they're highly elaborated grant programs, right? And so they have usual selection criteria like having the personnel, experience, and so on. I assume that the second part of your question might be about informal selection criteria. whom to support and not. And here we have the same situation for the entire sector in Russia, that it is divided into two parts. And I mentioned in the beginning that the majority of nonprofits, they work with social issues like health, safe sites, similar to social services provided by the state. And this part of the sector is supported, and they have more or less favorable infrastructure. And the second part of the sector, dealing with advocacy and human rights protection, they are in a sort of unprivileged situation. And this is general for innovative solution or regular the operation and so on. So this division, it really exists, and there are several articles published on this. I don't know, and we have also published an article. But anyway, I mean, division exists, yeah, and selection criteria are present.
Thank you so much. Okay. Any other questions? Professor raises his hand.
May I have one comment or just reflection, not question, to the particular, let's say, paper? First of all, I would like to express a lot of gratitude for your, let's say, very important and very understandable presentations. Nevertheless, in my mind come to two questions which are connected with the concept of innovation at all. First of all, when we are talking about the innovation in contemporary world, we are linking this problem with the democracy and let's say civil society. So from this point of view, when we are talking about the, let's say, innovation and social innovation especially, we are talking about the non-governmental, let's say, associations, this kind of activities which are appearing within the society. But, and it is true, because in the civil society, association is the main, let's say, the basic social structure, not the state, not the family, but the association. That's right. But if we take into the consideration innovation as such, so we can see that this kind of phenomena is created not only by the, you know, very voluntary cooperation between the people, but within the different kind of institution. It is created within some kind of laboratory, then transmit to the society, society try to implement, and so on, so on. So from this point of view, I could say that when we are talking about the innovation, social innovation, we should not concentrate exclusively on the NGOs, but also on these, you know, products, let's say, which are a result of cooperation between the state, between the some other institutions, and between the just citizenship as well. So that's first my reflection. And the second is that we are concentrate in our research on different, let's say, spheres where the social innovation appear in society, like, for example, health, for example, education, so other. That's true, but seems to me what would be more important and what would be added, it's a question why people want to cooperate on the basic level. That's seems to me the let's say a primary question for the explaining the phenomenon of social innovation. Why people want to cooperate? Why people don't want to cooperate between them? That's my let's say not question, but kind of reflection which is connected with the research on the social innovation and some kind of theory. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Professor, for this comment. And I really, I mean, this is extremely, to my knowledge, important to highlight that there are different providers of social innovations. And even now, when I checked the Russian case, I saw a great number of examples coming from businesses, coming from corporate social responsibility. And I mean, this is astonishing, and it should be treated a little bit differently. I mean, because we have several indexes on social innovations in public authorities, but nothing really coming from, for instance, business. But they have very nice examples there. Yeah, not only non-profits.
In you know, some theories, it is kind of assumption that social innovation, the sources for the social innovation is social organization, of different forms of social organization. Even we can find this kind of, let's say, theoretical point of view.
I see. Katarzyna, do we have time for one more question?
Of course we've got. It's a pleasure yet to hear one more question, please.
Okay, I have a question to Agnieszka. It is very interesting. You have dealt with so many data, and actually two questions, but please answer any of them. So how do you estimate that only part of the registered nonprofits actually operate? I mean, do you have some calculations? Do you have criteria for them to say that, okay, they are alive? I mean, to label them as alive. Do you have some procedures, or this is based on expert estimates? And the second question, just answer any of them. But maybe, yeah, I will check it in the internet. The Council for Public Benefit. I just wanted to find out what is it. But okay, so what about the part of the actually living nonprofit sector?
Okay, so this estimated the number of non-government organizations. We have the association Klon Javor, and this is the institution which have the portal NGO.pl. So I can send you the link, and they have the number of organizations, and of course they they have the data, and they try to find that they exist or not. But of course, in the research, for example, for Katarzyna, they try to find this organization, and sometimes is that we have to call for them and try that they exist or not. So the days isn't correct for the sure, but they are so good.
Okay.
But the second question, sorry, but I don't. You have to repeat.
Well,
I don't
it's
understand.
the Council for Public Benefit. Is it a sort of advocacy institute? If I write it down correctly.
I tell you about some view about the index of sensibility, and one of them is advocacy. But I don't know what exactly you ask.
Okay, just
sorry. So if you write for me, I answer for you.
Okay.
If I have a voice for the end sentence, I would like to tell that the speech of Sylwia Michalska, it was very great, and it is my reflection that it was something similar about the innovation in Latvia. I suppose you know about the Samaritan care. There is a bus where people from the care go for the place on the rural area, and they something similar like you, but they have something maybe more or maybe not, but they clean the window, they check your if you are half or not, if you have to go to the doctor or not, and they have something for watch or something like that, yeah, smartwatch. If the people want to call to help, they can do it in the one press. Yes, but this is something similar, but in the area in Latvia. And the second reflection is according to Professor Starosta, that why people are active, because we think that we can do something, and it is very important. And the level on trust, that we trust each other and we trust to the government. Yeah, and the institution, that everything what we do can be for our good, our common good. And I suppose this is the short answer for this. Thank you.
Okay, it's time to round up and close our seminar.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to got you, all of you. It was a small seminar, but really interesting, and I hope it's at the beginning of our cooperation. We will cross our fingers for a project maybe in Poland in the future. So we will see. From my side, thank you so much, and I hope that in the near future we can share our knowledge once again. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for.
It was a small seminar, but nevertheless great event.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and thank you. It was very new topic for me, social innovation, and it was very informative too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so see you later. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.